Hey everyone, Riddle here. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're a subscriber. I appreciate it. Today I'm going to show you my secret at making the best and freshest tasting Italian seasoning. Now, seasonings and everything is getting, they are getting more and more expensive, and the quality is getting lower and lower. Often when you buy spices at the supermarket, you have no idea how long ago those spices were processed, picked, and dried. You don't know what was sprayed on them. You don't know where they've been to in between here and there, how many mice or rats have pooped on them, or what chemicals they've used to keep them from clumping. And we'll discuss how to keep your herbs from clumping after you dehydrate them also. It's super simple. So I'm going to show you some of the things I put in my legendary Italian seasoning. Now, I wouldn't even say my seasoning is Italian seasoning anymore. I would say it's Riddle seasoning, but I did take some to an Italian family near us, and they run an incredible, authentic Italian bakery. And they're not American Italians. They're literally like immigrant Italians. They all have beautiful accents, and their pizzas and their food reflect something a lot more authentic to what you would actually eat in Italy. And I take them things from time to time, and when I gave them my Italian spice, they lost it. They really loved it. So they gave me a massive thumbs up on my efforts. Okay, so what are some of the things from your herb garden? So many people, they grow herbs, but they don't actually use them. They don't cut them. They let them bloom out and let them, become like distasteful. So if you don't have an herb garden, that's okay. Start talking to people who garden and ask them, hey, can I come over and harvest some of your herbs or vegetables that you're just letting rot? And I will give you some herb back after I've dehydrated it and processed it, as a reciprocal agreement. And hopefully the people are smart enough to allow you to do that. And then you both benefit versus the herbs just blooming out and becoming worm food before, right after the big rains come in the fall and then things freeze up. Okay. We can put some rosemary in it. And, you pretty much can put equal parts, but usually you go heavier on your oregano and your basil. It gives it more of that spaghetti sauce flavor, more of that classic marinara. But you want to do rosemary. I actually put a little bit of my horseradish leaf in it, but it's not necessary. But it just gave it another complex layer of flavor that people are like, what? How are they? What? I'll put a little onion in it, chop it up. Now, when you're dehydrating onion, you want to chop them in small pieces because they do take a while to dehydrate. And if you got something really leafy that's going to dehydrate quickly, or something that's got more water in it, like onion leaves, could be a problem because it's not going to all dry at the same time. And that's what you really want. You want everything to be really bone dry, the herbs. Going to come down here. I've got a couple different types of basil. So what I do, I just keep the flowers from forming on my basil. My basil's kind of struggling this year because we've had a crazy long, cold spring, and we've barely had a summer. I still don't have a tomato. Anyway, so you put lots of basil. And the thing about basil, you can take all the little leaves that are turning yellow, take the flowers off of it. Like, use the things that you wouldn't usually eat because it still has a great flavor and chemical/medicinal content for your seasoning. Got some beautiful red basil, purple basil, I mean. I'm going to put you can put celery or lovage in it for a little bit of a celery flavor. I put nasturtium blossoms in it sometimes, but not necessary, but they add like a little sweet peppery element. I put a little bit of fennel in it, some sage. I put some fresh bay leaves in it. Oregano, of course, plenty of oregano. A little bit of lemon balm you can put in it. Bee balm. People don't know bee balm is very medicinal, also known as bergamot. It's a blood cleanser. The Native Americans used it as a heal-all because it grows wild along the streams in the northern part of the country. And the reason they call it bee balm is because it's not pollinated by bees traditionally. It's pollinated by hawk moths. But it's a delicious flavor, and it kind of resembles the flavor of a marjoram or a oregano. Thyme, lots of thyme. All these flowers are going to be cut off and dried and put in there. Lots of thyme. This is I never can pronounce it properly. It's a Mexican herb called espote. I put a little bit of that in there. I even put a little bit of chamomile to sweeten it up. I put some garlic chives, a little more oregano, and then I had some sweet marjoram in a barrel up here, and it was trying to bloom and seed, and I put a lot of that in there. So that's most of what I put in my Italian seasoning, but not all the time. But what I'm trying to show you, you can put a little bit of mint in it too, but not too much, but just a little bit. But all of this is going to add more and more layers of flavor and more medicine and nutrition to your herb mix. I'm going to show you the process of dehydrating now and show you a couple different options. Now, you can buy one of these bags. They're fairly inexpensive. The thing is though, if you do the bag, you want to hang it in a really dry, cool place that isn't getting exposure to the sun. And you do have to kind of keep an eye on it, because if you load this full of heavy herbs and you don't come in here, I've got cilantro here in the top, and give it a nice stir from time to time, it could mold on you. So that's your first option, is just to air dry it. You could also, you don't need a fancy basket. You could put it in bunches, tie it off really strong because they're going to shrink, and just hang them in your garage or a nice cool dry place. You know what else is an excellent dehydrator? A car. If you want your car to smell great like herbs, or you have like an extra car or an old car that's just sitting there, cars get so hot, they make great dehydrators. Or you can just use a dehydrator, which I have here. You want to set the setting not at the highest temperature, but closer to 140-ish to 145-ish, because if you can dry them at a lower temperature, air dry them, you're going to have more nutrients versus the stress from the heat drying it, because it's almost like baking it. So after the herbs are completely dry, and you have to be really careful of this because there may still be moisture in the stems or the thicker parts of the leaves or what have you. So you don't want to rush this, but after it's completely dry, then you're gonna, make sure you cut it into reasonable pieces and get it into your blender. Now, because I do so much cooking and so much canning, I treated myself to a Vitamix. And originally, when my spouse for years tried to get me to buy a Vitamix, I thought it was just a glorified blender. And then one day I got caught at Costco watching one of those demonstrations, and I was mesmerized and went ahead and got one. And I use it almost daily. It's a great company. If anything breaks on it, it's here in America, and they will replace almost anything that's broken on it and send or give you a brand new pitcher or what have you in the mail. I can't tell you how great a Vitamix is, but you have this wet pitcher, but then they have this dry grinder for herbs. Now, I broke this because I was putting these rock hard herbs in it, and I should have known better because this was already pretty old, but this dry grinder with a dull blade is really the best thing to grind herbs and roots in. It's a completely different type of blade than you use in a blender. And I lucked out because that little sucker is really expensive. And I got that one as a gift for my sister, but I just found one at the thrift store for $5. And I think they're like 130 bucks. I'm sure you can get one cheaper, but like if you just bought a brand new one, they're outrageously priced. You know, you could also use a coffee grinder. I suggest going to the thrift store and getting an old coffee grinder. The old coffee grinders are so much better than the new ones. I have a coffee grinder from the 1970s that I got at the thrift store, and sucker is still going strong. So this is the end result of my Italian herb. I do a fine powder, and it's all mixed, and you should smell this. It smells like heaven. Even in the cabinet, it smells like heaven. So the reason I do it in such a fine powder, and you don't have to, but I like an essence. I like doing it in this fine powder because you can use less of it, and it really permeates anything that you're using it in, be it a sauce or bread or what have you. So that's why I like grinding it into a really fine powder. But if you want a more, you know, like they sell at the store, if you want more bits and pieces, whatever floats your boat. Okay, I think I've covered everything. You just pick it, you dry it, you grind it. Oh, storing it. Oh, almost forgot. So sometimes your herbs, especially if you make onion powder, which is incredible, and I'll do that in another video, how to make an excellent onion powder. But if you're going to store your herbs and you don't want to add something, an anti-caking agent like they do at the with the commercial herbs and things, which a lot of people have no idea, but next time you're buying some garlic powder or herb, read the ingredients and you're gonna say, what's that? So what I do is I save up the silica packets. You can use the round ones from your medication, the little round silica bottles, packets, or you can, any kind of silica packets that they put in things to keep things dry. Instead of throwing those away, you save them and you throw 1 or 2 of those in your bag of dried herbs, and it will keep it effectively from caking up and clumping. Though it really shouldn't cake up and clump if you dried it properly and it's in an airtight container. You always want to go for a super airtight container. And that's it. If you have any questions or comments, please put them below. And if you liked my video, please subscribe or give it a little thumbs up. It's very helpful. And have a great day. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.